Around 23,000 years ago, at the height of the last ice age, vast sheets of ice blanketed much of North America. Life for any living creature, let alone early humans, was brutal and uncertain. For generations, archaeologists believed no human could have arrived or survived here until far more recently, during the decline of the glaciers some 13,000 years ago. This conviction rested firmly on the evidence of the famous Clovis culture, whose distinctively crafted stone tools once marked the supposed beginning of the American saga. But every now and then, the past refuses to fit so neatly into our boxes. Instead, it offers up a challenge, a clue that forces us to re-examine everything we thought we knew. One such clue was found in 2009. In the shimmering desert of White Sands, New Mexico, park rangers stumbled upon a landscape littered with strange impressions. At first glance, they seemed like the footprints of woolly mammoths, giant sloths, or maybe saber-toothed tigers, remnants of an ancient world. Yet, as researchers stooped to analyze the prints more closely, a stunning truth was revealed. Among the animals, there were unmistakably human footprints. Small prints of children, larger ones of adults struggling with burdens, some prints running, others hesitating, as if we were witnessing moments from daily life, frozen in time. The revelation sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. If genuine, these footsteps would predate all accepted evidence of human presence in the Americas. But extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. The first effort to date them relied on radiocarbon analysis of tiny aquatic seeds embedded in the same sediment layer as the tracks. The answer stunned everyone. The seeds were between 21,000 and 23,000 years old. Doubt, naturally, followed close behind. Many scientists argued that ancient carbon dissolved in the lake water might give a false impression of age, a problem well known in radiocarbon dating. Others simply couldn't accept that humans were here so long before the Clovis horizon. The debate grew heated, with some dismissing the evidence outright. The White Sands team, undaunted, sought even stronger confirmation. Over several years, they applied new methods. Optically stimulated luminescence, OSL, which detects the last time sun had touched those grains of sand, and carbon dating of terrestrial conifer pollen, unaffected by any ancient lake carbon. In all, 55 different measurements, drawn from mud, seeds, and pollen, converged on the same answer. Humans walked here between 20,700 and 22,400 years ago. It would be serendipity to the extreme if every single one of those results was wrong. The tracks, it turns out, were not just possible. They were fact. The footprints themselves are a storybook. You can see children's prints weaving between those left by adults, suggesting family groups on the move. In places, heavy impressions hint at adults carrying loads. Elsewhere, the faint lines of sandals or bare, splayed toes speak to daily struggles and adaptation. All this unfolded on the shores of what once was Lake Otero, a giant body of water teeming with life, a source of survival amid a perilous climate. So the question grew even bolder. Who were these people, and where did they go? That answer began not in the stones they left behind, but in the molecules hidden beneath our feet. This new age of archaeology is built atop a genetic revolution, the study of ancient DNA. As techniques advanced, scientists began extracting DNA not just from bones and teeth, but from sediments, coprolites, and the fossilized detritus of vanished worlds. Each new strand began to redraw the map of human migration, sometimes violently contradicting everything in the textbooks. From those layers at White Sands, researchers recovered traces of ancient DNA far older than anyone expected. Instead of linking directly to modern Native American groups or even to the people who brought the Clovis culture, genetic analyses revealed something radically different: an ancient basal lineage. This was a population genetically distinct, a branch split from the main tree of human migration soon after the very first crossings from Siberia. It's a ghost population, without known direct descendants, whose genetic signature doesn't persist in any living people today. This solitary discovery, it turns out, was not unique. Similar whispers of ancient, now-vanished lineages have emerged from other sites. At Monte Verde in southern Chile, archaeologists found evidence of human settlements as old as 18,500 years, thousands of years before Clovis, with a toolkit and diet surprisingly adapted to wetlands and forests, not the open grasslands of North America. Excavations in Brazil and even as far north as Alaska have also hinted at this early, lost diversity. Why did these pioneering groups vanish? The archaeological record is silent. Perhaps they succumbed to the brutal climate swings of the Ice Age, unable to compete with later, more successful waves. Maybe disease, changing food sources, or violent conflict brought about their extinction. For every question the footprints answer, they stir up a dozen more mysteries. Ancient DNA doesn't merely find survivors, it also uncovers what was lost. Consider Ötzi, the Iceman of the Alps, whose 300-year-old remains preserved a story of isolation and migration across Neolithic Europe. Or those victims of the Black Death, whose teeth in the cemeteries of Kyrgyzstan preserved the pandemic's earliest genetic evidence. In Nevada's Spirit Cave, the bones of a man over 10,000 years old sparked heated controversy. Did his DNA prove continuity with living tribes, or did it hint at yet more vanished populations? At White Sands, all we have are the footprints, more than 100 trackways, crossing, clustering, pausing, recorded in gypsum powder for millennia. No bones, no campsites. But in the soil and sediment, the evidence is uncompromising. America's human story did not begin with Clovis, nor with a single migration over a land bridge. It began much, much earlier, written by peoples whose names and faces are lost to time, but whose movements we can still trace, step by ancient step. The implications are enormous. Imagine, for centuries, families trekked across cold mudflats ringing a giant lake, children running under a sky filled with mammoths, giant sloths, and predators. These were not just survivors, they were adventurers, pushing past the frontiers of what was possible, a tradition as old as humanity itself. This new timeline changes our understanding of the very roots of identity on the American continents. If people arrived over 23,000 years ago, before the glaciers began to melt, then the story of human adaptability is even more extraordinary than we thought. It tells us of lost worlds, cultures, languages, and ways of life that rose and fell, leaving almost nothing behind but a few faint reminders pressed into the earth. And what about the official story? The Clovis first model, so dominant in the 20th century, is now shattered. In its place stands a dynamic vision of overlapping migrations, rival clans, and vanished civilizations. The battle to piece together this puzzle continues not just in the deserts of New Mexico, but in jungles, caves, and remote dig sites across the Americas. Science is rarely settled. Just as we unearth answers, we find new questions. Why did some lineages die out? Could climate shifts like the Younger Dryas extinction have erased entire branches of the human family tree? How many pioneering populations made it, simply to vanish without a trace or to be absorbed by succeeding waves? Each new discovery adds fresh depth to humanity's oldest tale: the search for home, the urge to explore, the fragility and resilience of every culture. These ancient footprints at White Sands are among the most haunting ever found. They are the evidence that our past is far older, more complex, and more surprising than we imagined. For thousands of years, their secret remained hidden beneath New Mexico's shifting sands. Today, science has finally given voice to those who once walked here, families long gone but immortalized in the ancient ground. Their story is just the beginning. In coming episodes, we'll explore lost skulls from the caves of Brazil, the genetic enigmas of Spirit Cave in Nevada, and the revelations of Monte Verde's wetlands. What else waits to be found in America's deepest past? If these mysteries intrigue you, if you believe that the biggest secrets are still out there, waiting in silence, leave a comment, join our journey, and subscribe. Because history isn't finished, it's still being uncovered, one footprint at a time.